All right, let's kick things off. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of our portfolio companies, Shining 3D.
Oh, interesting.
They're making some serious waves in 3D technology, and I'm really excited to dig into all the research we've gathered on them.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty complete picture, actually, with their financials, product details, insights into the leadership,
Okay.
and a good grasp of the competition, too.
Great.
So, ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right. One thing that really struck me about Shining 3D is that they're relatively young as a company,
Ugh.
founded in 2004,
Mm.
but already they've got this huge global presence, over 100 countries.
It is pretty impressive. What I find really fascinating is that over 60% of their revenue comes from overseas.
Right. Like, how did they get there so fast? They weren't always focused on 3D scanning, were they?
Not exactly. So initially, Shining 3D, they were all about consumer-oriented 3D devices. Things like laser engraving, 3D cameras, that sort of thing. But then in 2009, some new leaders came in Li Tao, Zhao Xiaobo, and Huang Shanqing, and they really steered the company in a new direction. They decided to specialize in 3D scanning.
And that's when things took off.
Absolutely. They got listed on the National Equities Exchange in quotations, the NEQ, in 2014. And from there, well, their growth has been pretty remarkable.
Makes sense. And so today, Shining 3D has two main focuses. We've got dental digitalization and then professional 3D scanning.
Exactly.
Before we get into all that, though, I'm curious about the financials. What kind of shape are they in?
Well, their 2023 numbers look pretty good. Total assets over 1.6 billion yuan, net assets 1.2 billion, revenue exceeding 1 billion. They're doing well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, those are some serious numbers.
Yeah, and a healthy gross profit of 683 million, which leads to a net profit of 143 million.
Okay, but I mean, how much of that impressive growth can be attributed to this dental digitalization thing?
Well, that's what's really exciting. The projections show that their dental digitalization business is going to keep growing at over 20% until at least 2027.
Whoa, hold on. 20% sustained growth. That definitely gets my attention as an investor.
Right.
So what's driving that growth? Is there's like a specific product that's leading the charge?
It really all comes down to their flagship product, the aoral Scan 3 intraoral scanner.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just another gadget, it's a game changer. Award-winning, even.
Okay, but break it down for me. What's so revolutionary about it? I mean, haven't dentists always taken, like, impressions of our teeth?
Yeah, but think about it. The traditional way of making dentures, it was a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple appointments, gooey molds, waiting weeks for the final product.
Ugh, I can still remember the taste of that molding material. Not a fond memory.
Right. So this is where the aoral Scan 3 comes in. It digitally scans the patient's mouth, creates a super precise 3D model, and then boom, you can design and manufacture dentures in a fraction of the time.
So how much faster are we talking?
Instead of 15 to 20 days, the whole process can be done in under 7 with the aoral Scan 3.
That's like a complete game changer.
It is.
Both for the dentist and the patient.
Absolutely.
So I can see why dentists are adopting it so quickly. But, I mean, there are other companies out there making intraoral scanners too, right?
Of course.
What sets Shining 3Ds apart?
Well, one of the big things is their software. It's designed to be super user-friendly, even for dentists who are new to this whole digital dentistry thing.
Okay.
Features like automatic bite detection, margin line extraction, coordinate adjustment, makes the whole scanning process smooth and efficient. Plus, it integrates directly with Exicad, which is a leading dental CAD software. Streamlines the design and manufacturing process,
Hold on, back up a sec. What's Exicad?
Think of it like the architect's software, but for dental work. It's where dentists design crowns, bridges, dentures, all based on the scans from the aerial scan.
Got it.
And that direct integration, it's huge. No more messing around with files and formats. It's all seamless.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So it's like everything you need all in one place. And you mentioned AI earlier. Where does that fit in?
Right. So Shining 3D is really pushing the boundaries here. They've got this orthodontic simulation tool that's powered by AI.
Okay.
So dentists can create these super accurate and personalized treatment plans, predicts tooth movement and treatment outcomes with incredible precision.
Whoa, that's pretty high tech.
It is.
So it's not just about the hardware. They're building a whole ecosystem around it.
Exactly.
Software, AI, the whole shebang. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not forget about their other big focus area,
Yeah.
professional 3D scanning. Tell me about that side of the business.
So with professional 3D scanning, they've got two main categories: high-precision scanners and entry-level handheld scanners. The high-precision ones are used in industries like automotive, aerospace, energy. They're all about quality control, reverse engineering, and design.
Wow, and how precise are we talking?
We're talking details finer than a human hair.
No way. Who are some of their clients using these high-precision scanners?
Some big names, actually. SAI, Tash, GM, FAW, Geely. Major players in the automotive world.
So they've got some serious credibility.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the industrial grade stuff. What about these entry-level handheld scanners? Who are those for?
Those are targeting individual designers, hobbyists, educators, small businesses, or really anyone who needs high-quality 3D scanning without, breaking the bank.
Okay, but how affordable are we talking?
Around $1,000.
Wait, $1,000 for a 3D scanner? That just seems insanely accessible. Are they skimping on quality at that price?
Not at all. Their Einstar handheld scanner, it's a bestseller. Top rankings on Amazon and JD.com.
Wow, so it really seems like they're democratizing 3D technology.
Yeah.
Making it accessible to, well, everyone, from individual creators to these huge corporations. So where do they go from here? What's next?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. There's massive potential for them to expand the software features, integrate even more AI, create even more value for their customers. I mean, imagine a world where anyone can capture and manipulate 3D data.
Yeah.
It could unleash a wave of creativity and innovation across all sorts of industries.
It's a pretty compelling vision. But they're not operating in a vacuum. What about the competition? Who else is trying to grab a piece of this 3D pie?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. So in the dental digitalization market, they're going head-to-head with some heavy hitters. You've got Align Technology, the makers of Invisalign, 3Shape, Dentsply Sirona, and Medit.
Okay, yeah, those are some big names.
Global players with deep pockets and major brand recognition.
So how is Shining 3D managing to carve out a space for themselves amongst, well, all that?
Their key advantage is cost effectiveness. They're offering high-quality scanners at a much more attractive price point, which makes them very appealing, especially for smaller dental practices.
Ah, so classic disruption strategy.
Exactly.
Come in with a more affordable option, gain market share, and then slowly move up as you build your brand and your tech expertise. But, I mean, can they really compete with the big boys in the long run? Don't companies like Align have this, massive advantage when it comes to brand loyalty and customer trust?
Absolutely, and it's something Shining 3D knows all too well. They're working hard to catch up in terms of device stability, software sophistication, and building that all-important brand reputation.
So they're definitely not just resting on their laurels.
Nope.
Sounds like they're really hustling to make a name for themselves in the dental digitalization world.
Definitely.
Okay, but what about their professional 3D scanning business? Who are they up against there?
So the professional 3D scanning market is dominated by companies like Amatec. They own Creaform, as well as Hexagon, Zeiss, and Ciasohon.
Okay.
These are the veterans, with a long history and deep expertise in industrial metrology and 3D scanning.
So how's Shining 3D stacking up against these giants? Are they holding their own?
They are. They're still relatively small on the global stage, but they're making their presence known. In 2022, they had about 1.7% of the global market share.
That's impressive.
Especially when you consider the competition.
Yeah. Right. It's not just a one-trick pony. They're successfully navigating two very different markets. Dental digitalization, professional 3D scanning, each with its own set of challenges and opportunities. What's their secret? How are they managing to compete and win on a global scale?
Well, it's multifaceted. They're really committed to continuous product improvement, making sure their scanners are constantly evolving. And they prioritize that software-hardware integration, creating these seamless workflows for users. Cost control, of course, and international expansion are also key pillars.
It sounds like they have a solid plan. But even with the best plans, there are always bumps in the road, right? What are some of the risks and challenges that Shining 3D faces as they continue to grow?
That's a great question, and it leads perfectly into the next part of our discussion. We've set the stage, explored their products, their financials, the competitive landscape. But as you said, ambition and growth always come with challenges and uncertainties.
And that's what we'll be diving into next time. We'll explore those potential roadblocks and pitfalls that Shining 3D might encounter on their path to achieving their goals. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. All right, welcome back. So we've established that Shining 3D has a lot going for it. Innovative products, impressive growth, that global reach.
Definitely.
But as they say, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Right.
What are some of the potential challenges they might encounter along the way?
Well, you're absolutely right. Every company faces headwinds, even the successful ones. And for Shining 3D, I'd say one of the biggest challenges is the competition in that dental digitalization market.
Yeah, I can
So
imagine
here's
going up against giants like Align Technology, the Invisalign folks. That can't be easy.
exactly. Align and companies like 3Shape, they've been around for a lot longer. They've built that brand recognition, that customer loyalty. They've got resources, experience, market share, things Shining 3D is still working towards.
So how can Shining 3D compete with that? Is it all about, like, undercutting them on price?
Price is definitely a factor, and, as we said, Shining 3D offers a lot of value for the money.
Right.
But to really go head-to-head with those big players, they need to go beyond just price.
What do you mean?
They need to keep innovating, differentiate themselves in terms of features, performance, the whole user experience. For
Right.
example, their software, it's user-friendly, sure, but it's still considered a bit less sophisticated than some of the competitors' offerings.
So some catching up to do on the software side.
Yeah, but the good news is they know that. Shining 3D is investing heavily in R&D to close that gap.
Correct.
They're working on a more comprehensive suite of software solutions, trying to provide even more value to their customers.
That makes sense. It's not just about the hardware. It's about that whole ecosystem, meeting the needs of dentists and their patients.
Right.
But isn't it a little risky for Shining 3D to be so focused on the dental market? What if something happens? Like, what if the market changes or growth slows down?
That's a valid point, and it brings up another challenge they face. They need to diversify, explore beyond just dental.
Okay.
Relying too heavily on one sector, it can make a company vulnerable.
Right, makes sense.
So Shining 3D is actively looking at other applications for their 3D scanning tech. Things like industrial manufacturing, healthcare, even cultural heritage preservation.
That's smart, leveraging what they know to branch out, see what sticks.
Exactly.
But I also imagine there are challenges that come with being a Chinese company operating globally. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good point. There are geopolitical tensions, concerns about Chinese companies, especially in tech.
Okay.
Things Shining 3D needs to navigate carefully.
Like what kinds of things?
Well, there are concerns about intellectual property, data security, government influence even.
Yeah.
These can create barriers, make it harder to build partnerships, damage their reputation.
So kind of an uphill battle in some parts of the world.
In a way, yes, but they're tackling this head on, prioritizing transparency, communication, ethical business practices. They're working hard to build trust, show international customers and partners that they're reliable, responsible.
It sounds like they're taking the right steps. But we also can't forget about competition from other Chinese manufacturers, right?
Absolutely. The Chinese market is incredibly competitive. Lots of domestic companies making and selling 3D scanners. Puts pressure on prices, erodes profit margins, makes it harder for Shining 3D to stay ahead.
So it's like a two-front war.
Yeah,
Battling the global players on one side and the hungry domestic companies on the other.
that's a good way to put it. To win that war, they have to stay agile, innovative, can't afford to rest.
Definitely not.
Need to push those boundaries, both in hardware and software, faster and better than everyone else.
It's a tall order.
It is.
But let's not forget about the elephant in the room. Disruptive technologies.
Right.
AI is already transforming so many industries. It's only a matter of time before it impacts the 3D scanning world too, right?
Absolutely. The rise of AI and other disruptive technologies, it's both a challenge and an opportunity for Shining 3D.
Okay. On the one hand, they need to be ready for the potential disruption that these technologies might bring.
Like what? Give me an example.
Imagine AI software that can automatically analyze scans, find defects in manufactured parts, or diagnose dental conditions, or recreate damaged artifacts, all with incredible accuracy.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
Right, it could really shake things up.
So how can Shining 3D stay ahead of that curve?
They need to embrace those advancements, integrate AI into their own offerings,
Okay.
be proactive, not reactive. If they can harness AI to enhance their strengths, it becomes an advantage, not a threat.
It's like they need to be looking over their shoulder while sprinting forward.
Exactly.
But even if they stay ahead of the tech curve, there are other risks. What about their corporate governance? Didn't you mention something about their management team having a relatively small equity stake?
That's right. It's something potential investors should definitely be aware of.
When management doesn't have much skin in the game, there's a risk they might prioritize short-term wins over long-term health.
So a potential red flag.
Not necessarily a red flag, but definitely something to keep in mind. That being said, they do have a pretty robust employee stock ownership plan.
Oh, interesting.
It covers a good chunk of their
Yeah,
workforce.
how does that help?
It aligns the interests of employees with the shareholders.
Okay.
When employees have a stake in the success, they're more likely to think long-term, contribute to growth and profitability.
Makes sense. So it's not all doom and gloom on the corporate governance side.
Exactly. While there are risks, there are also signs that Shining 3D is taking those steps towards strong governance, long-term value creation.
All right, so we've uncovered quite a few potential challenges here. Fierce competition, the need to diversify, geopolitical stuff, disruptive tech, even corporate governance concerns.
It's a lot.
It is, but, challenges create opportunities.
That's
And what we've seen is that Shining 3D isn't afraid of a challenge. They're ambitious, they're innovative, they're adaptable.
They are.
And that makes them a very interesting company to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
So we've explored the potential pitfalls, but what about the potential for success? What does the future hold for Shining 3D if they manage to navigate all of this effectively?
That's the question, isn't it? And that's what we'll be looking at in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll delve into their strategic vision for the future, discuss how they plan to leverage their strengths, overcome those challenges, and ultimately reach their ambitious goals.
Okay, can't wait to hear it. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into Shining 3D. And we're back. All right, so we've spent the last two parts of this deep dive really getting to know Shining 3D, from their financials to their products to that competitive landscape they're navigating.
We've also talked about the challenges, those global giants, disruptive tech looming on the horizon.
Right, a lot to consider. But now let's shift gears and look ahead. What's Shining 3D's vision for the future? What are they doing to set themselves up for success, even with those challenges?
One thing that really stands out is their commitment to R&D. Remember that 26.34% of revenue figure from the first half of 24?
Yeah, it's huge. Shows they're serious about staying ahead of the game. But what are they focusing on specifically?
They're exploring how technologies like AI can revolutionize 3D scanning and its applications.
Okay, so let's talk AI. We touched on their AI-powered orthodontic simulation software.
Right.
But what other possibilities are they looking at?
Think AI algorithms that can analyze 3D scans, detect anomalies in manufactured parts, diagnose dental conditions, even recreate damaged historical artifacts, all with incredible precision. The possibilities are vast.
It sounds like they're betting big on AI as a key driver for growth.
Yeah.
But technology alone isn't always enough, right? What about their brand-customer relationships? How are they approaching that side of things?
You're right, it's not just about the tech. Shining 3D gets that. They're focusing on building a strong global brand, cultivating deeper customer relationships.
So what are they doing differently?
They're moving away from purely transactional stuff, putting more emphasis on customer service, training, support, building direct sales and service networks, particularly in developed countries where they see high demand for their dental solutions.
That makes a lot of sense. Providing a complete experience, not just a product.
Exactly.
Let's get back to their dental strategy for a sec.
Yeah.
You mentioned they're developing 3D printing equipment and materials. What's the thinking there?
It's about creating a more comprehensive ecosystem of dental solutions. They want to offer dentists a complete suite of tools, scanning to design to manufacturing.
Ah, so they're becoming more like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and they're also exploring partnerships with big dental consumables companies,
Okay.
expanding their reach, leveraging expertise.
Smart move. Partnering with those established players can really open doors. But let's be realistic. Even with these initiatives, there are still risks, right? Competition, disruptive technologies, geopolitical challenges. How are they addressing those potential roadblocks?
Multi-pronged approach. They're laser-focused on continuous innovation. They know they can't stand still.
Right.
So they're always improving, always developing new products.
It's a race, huh?
Absolutely. And they're not just innovating with the tech, they're innovating their business model too.
Right.
Finding new ways to reach customers, build partnerships, create value.
Sounds like they're embracing that culture of agility, adaptability.
They are.
But even with the best strategies, sometimes things go sideways. What are some pitfalls that could trip them up?
Well, competition is a big one, obviously. Companies like Align and 3Shape, they're not just going to sit back and watch.
Yeah.
They've got the resources to fight back.
So Shining 3D needs to be prepared for a long, maybe costly battle.
Exactly. They need to be smart, efficient, ready to adapt quickly. And then there's the possibility of something completely new coming along, a disruptive technology we haven't even thought of.
Oh, okay, now you've got me worried. What kind of disruptive tech could blindside them?
Imagine portable, affordable 3D scanners anyone can use, anywhere.
Hmm.
Or 3D scanning integrated with augmented reality, virtual reality. The market could shift drastically.
Yeah, good point. They need to be constantly on the lookout.
They do.
But how can they possibly anticipate every eventuality?
It's a huge challenge, but it all comes back to R&D. Their willingness to embrace the new, the different, cultivating that culture of innovation and experimentation, being willing to take some risks.
It's a high-stakes game. Sounds like they're up for it, though.
They seem to be.
So where do you see Shining 3D 5 years from now? What's your prediction?
Hard to say for certain, especially in such a fast-paced industry.
Right.
But if they keep moving forward like this, I think they have a real shot at becoming a major player in the global 3D tech market.
So for our listeners who are maybe thinking about investing, what's the takeaway here?
Shining 3D has a lot of potential. They're innovative, ambitious, and they're in a market with huge growth potential.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, there are risks, things that could impact their success.
Classic high risk, high reward.
Exactly. The decision to invest, it's personal, based on your risk tolerance, your goals.
That's a great point. We always encourage everyone to do their research, talk to a financial advisor before making any decisions. But I think we can all agree Shining 3D is a company worth watching.
Absolutely. They're pushing boundaries, shaping the future of how we interact with the world around us.
It's an exciting journey. We'll definitely be following their progress. And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into Shining 3D. Hope you found it insightful.
Until next time, stay curious, keep those imaginations fired up.
The world of technology is always changing, always new discoveries to be made.
And who knows, maybe one of those discoveries will be made by Shining 3D.
Maybe so.